A tense exchange on Piers Morgan's show between Katie Miller and Cenk Uygur has gone viral.
Miller is a former White House deputy press secretary and is married to Trump advisor Stephen Miller. Now, during the show, she was critical of New York mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani, which led to accusations of Islamophobia from Uygur. Then there was this response from Miller.
Why is it that every time someone wants to criticize Mamdani, it immediately comes back to the Jews and the anti-Israel movement instead of actually talking about his viewpoints, which is that he wants to make...
Nobody said Jews. You just said it. You always do that. We say Israel, you say Jews. We say Israel is a government. Please don't make it about Jewish Americans. And you come back and go, you have to make it about Jewish Americans. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?
After some more back and forth, Miller eventually threatened to walk out on the show.
Quite frankly, I'm really sick and tired of this racist, bigoted rhetoric that comes from people like you against my husband, against my family, and my children. I am raising Jewish children in this country.
Who brought your children into this? What a weirdo.
Piers, I'm going to be done with this if you're going to allow racist and bigoted attacks against one of your commentators just for the sake that he will not
hang on.
Speaking.
Casey, to be clear, Casey, to be clear,
he inserted a line that says the Miller's lie. Is that not coded language for therefore we are Jewish?
Later on in the show, Miller appeared to make a deportation threat against Uygur. Take a listen.
Jewish people suffered the Holocaust. What happened in the Holocaust was disgusting.
You don't get a pass for calling them
the SS. Hold on. So what happened in the Holocaust and all the pogroms were disgusting. That doesn't mean that Israel...
Well, it's hard to hear over the shouting, but Miller said you better check your citizenship application and hope everything was legal and correct. Now, Uygur was born in Turkey, but was naturalized after moving to the U.S. with his family when he was a child. Miller's comment about his citizenship went unnoticed on the show, but was picked up online quickly. Pod Save America host Tommy Viter writes, quote, Katie Miller leaves her MAGA safe space for an hour and starts threatening to deport people who hurt her feelings. Who exactly is the snowflake? And journalist Glenn Greenwald says, quote, threatening to have your husband deport an American citizen because he criticized you in a TV debate, and more so because he criticized the foreign country you love so deeply, is about as twisted and authoritarian a mindset as you'll find.
Oh boy, where to start?
Can we both just start with the agreement that Piers Morgan is the new Jerry Springer of political debate?
It's wild.
Every day it gets wild on there. I just can't even keep up. Like, I was like, oh, this is a good format as it first started to come out. And now every day you just expect it to go crazy.
It gets spicy. Yeah, so I think that her reaction to his criticisms was not appropriate for the debate. Running to the idea that he was being racist or bigoted because I guess he was like criticizing Israel. We didn't watch the clip that led up to her getting upset. But like, let's be real. When people disagree about issues, we don't have to accuse them of attacking our skin color or our ethnicity or our religion. And the way that she immediately framed it around like, well, I'm raising Jewish kids and like Israel's a Jewish state, I thought was definitely disingenuous. And I want to give her a little bit of grace because I know that she's obviously going through a hard time with the attacks on her family and having to move out of their home and all of that. So maybe she's a little extra sensitive right now. But we typically expect in the conservative commentariat that we do not stoop to the level of assuming that people's criticism of us is because of our heritage.
And I think criticizing someone because of identity, yes, that's hate. Criticizing someone because of their actions or a state because of its actions is just criticism.
Right.
And I think, you can't hide behind identity every time. You have to, and this is someone who can tell the difference between somebody attacking me as a woman of color versus somebody just doesn't like me. That's also fine, right? I think like the left is accused constantly of clutching its pearls over incidents like this. But Katie Miller and her husband, finding an opportunity to be a victim and bringing her kids involved. It just seemed like the wrong moment to say, oh my God, you're attacking me and my kids, when really the conversation was about Mamdani. And there have been, it's relevant timing in the news to talk about the Islamophobia attached to Mamdani when Cuomo, who's competing against him, who also was a Democrat, was recently laughing on a conservative podcast when the podcaster said Mamdani will be cheering over a plane going into the building on 9/11, which I think is a sign of just connecting somebody who wholly is distant from that as a terrorist. And I think that that's some coded language used there. And Cuomo laughing, it's like, you should say that's not Mamdani's stance but we disagree with his policies. There's always an opportunity for people to argue with Mamdani about his policies. And all I hear is people criticizing him for multiple other things. But instead of naming things that they would do in regards to how to make housing better, how to make New York City more affordable, all we hear is people criticizing him for what he's saying that's wrong. So what's your strategy? What's your policy is my question. And I also think my final point is that she should not do live TV. She shouldn't do live TV if she's going to be this sensitive and she can't handle opposing views. Then live TV probably isn't for her, especially in the political arena. Maybe she should do another show that's a little lighter.
So I do think, the criticisms of Mamdani are not coming from his being a Muslim, but from some of the comments that he made in the photo op with the unindicted co-conspirator of the World Trade Center bombing, and then the comments of making 9/11 about his alleged aunt's fear of riding the subway with hijab on instead of
that happened
after
that Cuomo podcast, but when he talked about his aunt, that was really his other family.
So they were just talking about taking the photo with the world.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, to me, that's not about Islamophobia. That's just about looking at his actions and how he treats incidences that were really some of the darkest days in New York City history. But all of that being said, we obviously agree on Katie Miller's overreaction to what was happening on this Piers Morgan show. There was also a similar thing that happened on that Her Take podcast that PBD started, where Anna Kasparian was on with a conservative influencer who started accusing her of hating Jews, and like all of her Israel criticism just comes from hating Jews. And I thought Anna Kasparian got super fiery and like just shut it down, which I thought was amazing. But yeah, I get really frustrated when some of the very vehemently pro-Israel right automatically conflates criticism of Israel with Jewish hatred or being anti-Semitic. And it's not a useful debate tactic. Like, strategically, it's not smart. And it's also just disingenuous and ascribes motives on people that they have not publicly subscribed to or said anything that would lead us to believe that they feel that way.
And I think why it's probably an uncomfortable time is because there's been a rise in anti-Semitism at the same time that we're saying, because we're criticizing Benjamin Netanyahu, that's not anti-Semitic. So I understand why there are stressful feelings around it. And also, I want to just quickly go back to Mamdani because I think it's the same situation. There was a rise in Islamophobic attacks right after 9/11, and I looked it up. It was like 17-fold. Specifically in New York, there was even a task force to monitor people who were Muslim after 9/11 for at least 10 years that was instituted a year later. And so I think when you have those incidents happening and actually documents of profiling happening and people who lived in that community also sharing their plight simultaneously, it's not to silence any voices that are experiencing that. It's to say, don't conflate all of this together, right? So with Mamdani's instance, it's like, yes, we can acknowledge how sad 9/11 was for the actual people that died in or around or had family in these terror attacks and blame the people that were responsible for doing it. But at the same time, Muslims are allowed to feel the way that they feel, but when feeling attacked constantly for just being themselves. And now the same way with people with anti-Semitism. If Jewish people feel like they are attacked and constantly on attack, you could feel that way. But if you're going to go on television and debate a real topic about what's happening present day, and somebody brings up a point about something that's relevant to what happened in recent times, like Benjamin Netanyahu, you can't say unless it came out of their mouth, Jews are doing X, then they're being anti-Semitic. I think we have to make sure we pull those things apart and allow people to feel the way they feel. So Katie Miller's allowed to feel like she's under attack. She can give exact examples, but what Cenk did is certainly not one of those examples of somebody being anti-Semitic.
Yeah, so I feel like I am being pretty consistent here in saying that people who level the anti-Semitism accusation without much evidence, and people who lobby the Islamophobia accusation without much evidence, neither of them should do that. And so when New Yorkers who lost family members, first responders who are still getting cancer to this day, who you now have more who have died post 9/11 than on the actual day of the attack, for him not to center their voices in his comments about 9/11 and make it about his aunt's alleged fear on the subway when nothing apparently happened to her, she just felt afraid, what I thought was very tone deaf, and New Yorkers are rightfully calling that out, and they shouldn't be called Islamophobic for saying that.
Fair, yeah. I think that the cartoon was the issue for me, but and the commentary from the commentator. But yes, I do agree with that.
All right, cool. New York City mayoral election. We're going to keep talking about it. It's less than a week away. Coming up, we'll look at a heated interview with Curtis Sliwa and check out the latest polling numbers.